2022. Madam Clerk, what do we have?
First item we have is approval of the minutes.
We're going to adopt the agenda?
Yes.
Let's do that, yeah.
First we'll adopt the agenda. Thank you.
All right, I have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. And now,
And
those
now,
minutes.
approval of the minutes from February 9th.
All right, we have a motion and second to adopt the minutes for February 9th. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously as well.
Next, we have item 210922, fourth budget amendment to the FY 2022 General Government Financial and Operating Plan Budget.
Good afternoon, Ms. Fiore.
Good afternoon, Karen Fiore, Budget Manager. The fourth budget amendment, we're just requesting an amendment to our special revenue fund, specifically to the American Rescue Plan Fund. Here, we're asking to appropriate $15.1 million excuse me, for projects and programs that you have discussed as a body together over the last several weeks. So I'll just highlight those. We're requesting $10 million for revenue loss replacement. And then with that $10 million, we would like to allocate $2.2 million for the Eastside Urgent Care Center and $1.2 million for various Vision Zero projects. We'd also like to allocate $2.4 million for administration fees, and that includes your government services group. $1.9 million for energy rehabilitation, $500,000 for eviction protection and assistance, and $300,000 for personal protective equipment. And that's all I have for you today. And on the attachment A, you can find each of those listed out.
All right, any, Commissioner Santos?
Thank you, Mayor. Or sorry, thank you, Chair. I move the recommendation.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any folks in the room for public comment? Nope.
Mr.
And-
Chair, if I might.
Yes, please.
I believe at one of our previous commission meetings, Commissioner Hayes Santos mentioned that when these items come before finance and when we do bring them to the full board, that they come with a recommendation out of the finance committee. So that'll probably be a text change maybe, as this is added on to the agenda.
Okay. Very
Thank
good.
you.
All right. And we decided that we don't do virtual public comment for this committee. That's, okay. All right, then, back to the commission. Any questions, comments? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. We are moving on through. Madam Clerk.
Next item is 210960, fiscal year 2022 first quarter investment performance reports for the City of Gainesville operating funds, General Employees Pension Fund, Police Officers and Firefighters Pension Fund, Retiree Health Insurance Trust Fund, and Evergreen Cemetery Trust Fund.
Welcome.
Mr. Chair, I'm just going to hit the highlights for
Please.
you. Obviously, we've got voluminous reports back as backup. For the first quarter, our operating fund returned 11 basis points. Our Evergreen Cemetery Trust Fund had a return of 6.43%. The General Employees Pension Plan was at 3.75%. Police officers and firefighters at 4.8%. And the Retiree Health Insurance Trust Fund at 5.93% for the first quarter.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Any questions, y'all? All right. Is there a motion? Okay. Commissioner Saka?
Mr. Benton, could I grab you back for a second? Sorry. So the returns look really good. I think better than I would have expected. What do we normally shoot for as the expectation?
I'll give you.
Never mind, not you.
Sure,
You can phone a friend.
William Johnston, investment officer for the city. What was your question again?
So the returns look really good. Is there a percentage that we usually aim to meet and have, or like, because I feel like this would exceed any expectation we have?
Are you speaking with respect to the pension plans or the operating funds?
To all of them, all of the pensions and trusts, they seem pretty good, some higher than others. But I wasn't sure if there's like a minimum return that we hope to meet every quarter or year.
So I'll address the trust funds first, just because that's something that's a little bit simpler. For our pension plans and the retiree health insurance trust fund, we perform actuarial valuations on those plans. And included in that valuation is an assumed rate of return used by the actuaries. Currently, that rate of return is 7.9%. That's based on the expected returns of various asset classes that the plans are invested in. And it's also moderated to some degree by what other pension plans around the state of Florida use and what the Division of Retirement in Tallahassee finds acceptable. When I started with the city, we had a higher rate of return assumption, but there has been pressure from the state of Florida over the past 20, 25 years to lower that, which is why we're at 7.9% now. There's continued pressure to lower that rate of return assumption, so we may actually be coming to the commission, sometime over the next year or so to discuss that. But that rate of return assumption is based on expected returns collected from various investment consultants around the country, institutional investment firms, and other pension plans. With respect to the SBA, with respect to the operating funds, that's really the city's cash, and that's managed differently. It's a much shorter term investment horizon, and so we have lower return expectations for that plan. Generally, we identify benchmarks that we think are realistic to try to achieve or exceed, and those are the benchmarks that we measure our performance against.
Yeah, that actually answered it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good. All right, now, any motion?
I move that we accept and adopt the report and pass it on to the full commission.
All right, we have a motion and second to accept the report and pass it on to the full commission. Do you have any public comment? I know I'm looking at all staff, but
There are people
I
too.
feel like I should ask. All right, no public comment. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously as well. I don't know how we're getting through this so quickly. Madam Clerk.
The next item is 211008, Commissioner Adrian Hayes Santos, City of Gainesville divestment of Russian and Belarusian securities.
Commissioner Santos.
Thank you, Chair. With the ongoing conflict and the invasion by Putin into Ukraine, really the world has begun to put in sanctions and disinvestment of Russian and Belarusian securities. I believe it's a twofold, but I think we have a moral duty to do this as unprovoked war by Putin and the destruction of Ukraine, the thousands of deaths, and really the destabilization of the whole region and in the world. I think we have a moral duty to do this, but I also think we have a fiduciary duty as well as overseers of the city's funds and pension funds. This war has destabilized the region. The companies in Russia are falling apart, so I think we have both a moral and a fiduciary duty. I'd like to hear from staff kind of on our current positions and kind of where they are, and then hopefully put forward a motion with a resolution for us to take action.
Okay. Mr. Johnston.
Mr. Commissioner, or Commissioners, so we did reach out to our consultants. Primarily, we were focused on the international equity investment managers for our pension plans. For the general employees pension plan, we had actually no Russian or Belarusian investments at this time. Keep in mind that although they're a large country and they they have some economic power. Russia is considered an emerging or undeveloped market by most international managers. And therefore, most of our managers focus on what they consider developed international markets. So it's unlikely that they would ever hold many, if any, investments there. So right now, the General Employees Pension Plan has no Russian or Belarusian company exposure. The Retiree Health Insurance Trust Fund, we have 2 international managers for that fund. One of them holds no Russian or Belarusian companies. The other manager holds 2 small positions in companies called Lukoil and Yandex. Those positions represent about 2 basis points of the fund's total assets. And we've suggested they consider moving out of those investments. But, since in the past few weeks, the Moscow exchange has been suspended for the most part. So, we're allowing them to take what action they can over a period of time. But even if those company positions completely went to zero, it would have minimal impact on the plan and the plan's returns. Although the City Commission does not oversee the police and fire pension, there's a separate statutory board that oversees that plan. They do have an international manager with a small position in a digital Russian bank called TCS Group, and that represents about 5 basis points of that portfolio. They have been reducing their exposure there, and they probably will try to get out of it, over the course of time as the exchange allows for it.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to,
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, the city auditor is in the Zoom meeting. You just can't, her hand is raised. She has a question.
Okay, Madam Auditor.
Thank you, Finance Committee members, Chair Ward. I had a quick question for Mr. Johnston on Exhibit A that he just spoke to, and piggybacking on Commissioner Sacco's question. Mr. Johnston, I know our rate of return is 7.9%, and we're expecting about a 7.5% return this year on our pension and trust investments on average. Could you explain if that will have any impact on our unfunded liability? Are we going to change the amount that we fund, or see how this plays out over a period of years?
So, Ms. Bigby, I would say that we're actually on to the next item at this point, but we'll go ahead and entertain that anyway. I mean, it should be a fairly straightforward question, so let's go ahead and do that, if you would.
Okay, certainly I can speak to the question. So, our pension plans are fully funded, so we do not have unfunded liabilities at this time. We still are required, the city is still required to make contributions based on what is called the normal cost, which is sort of the annual cost of administrative expenses and active members and things like that. But if the plan does end up earning 7.5% as opposed to 7.9%, that would create a small liability for the plan. It should not affect the normal cost because that's a static cost, and it would not be enough of a liability to cause the plan to become underfunded. In the event that a liability is created because of underperformance, say the plan there was some sort of issue where the markets were down 20% and it might have created an unfunded liability, that unfunded liability is amortized over 30 years. So even though it affects the city's employer contribution rate, it's minimized by that amortization period. So it would have an impact if you had a large negative return like that. But again, it's something that's moderated by the amortization.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Does that answer your question for you, Ms. Bigby?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, Commissioner Santos.
yeah, thank you, Chair. I'd like to place a motion forward. So there would be a 5-part motion that comes from the Finance Committee to the City Commission. Maybe place it on there. That there would be a first part, binding resolution at the next City Commission meeting. Second, in that resolution, it would call for a divestment of any current city holdings in any Russian or Belarusian securities. We would request the same for the city pension board and the police, or the general employee pension board, and then also request the same for the police and firefighter pension board. Third, that the city create a new investment policy to not invest in the future in any Russian or Belarusian securities. We would request the same policy for the general employee pension fund, and also the same for the police and firefighter pension fund as well to that board. Lastly, in that resolution would be a resolution denouncing the war in Ukraine and asking for a peaceful resolution. Also, that Gainesville welcomes refugees from this conflict and really any conflict. And then also reaffirming our sister city in Russia, that it's important to keep cultural exchanges and keep diplomacy going between countries in conflict.
Repeat that and say numbers.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So repeating, did you write it down or?
So it's the initially binding resolution, is that the first item or
This is all in that binding resolution.
5? Okay.
So I'll repeat it. So in the binding resolution that would be on the next city commission meeting with a request from the finance committee would be a divestment. So the first portion is divestment of any current city holdings in any Russian or Belarusian securities. There would be a request for divestment to the city pension board to do the same, and the same to the police and firefighter board, pension board. Second, the city create a new investment policy to not invest in the future in any Russian or Belarusian securities until the commission changes. And we would request the same for the general employee pension fund to create a policy, and the same for the police and firefighters pension board to create a similar policy. And then lastly, in the resolution denouncing the war in Ukraine, asking for a peaceful resolution. Also that Gainesville is welcoming refugees from this conflict and any conflict, and reaffirming our sister city in Russia, as it's important to keep cultural exchanges and diplomacy open between countries in conflict.
Okay. And that's the entirety of the motion?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any question or discussion on that? Okay.
I'm fine.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. Very good.
I guess I'm
Go
fine.
ahead,
Just
go
one
ahead.
question for staff. That covers the intent of what we've discussed for past of pulling us, that covers all the boards that we need to request from?
I think that covered all the boards we talked. You hit the general employees pension plan, the retiree health insurance trust fund, and you're making a request to the police and fire consolidated plan since it's a separate statutory entity. So yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay. Any public comment on this? All right, Commissioner Hayes Santos, thank you for bringing this forward. It certainly covers a lot of bases. I appreciate the intent of the entire thing. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously as well. And if you will work with the clerk, Commissioner Hayes Santos, to make sure that we have that exactly correct. Yeah. Okay, is there any public comment? All right, any member comment? Fastest committee meeting ever. All right, thank you very much. We are adjourned.